Here we are on this podcast where we talk about video games.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3 came out on Friday.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a rare instance of everyone in here playing
I
the
did
same
into it.
game.
Sure. After them not sending it to us early,
They sent
a ton of copies.
Yeah, like on launch day, they're like, "Here's a bunch of PS4 copies."
Yeah, after kind of around the time that it came out.
I was like, damn it, I just bought a copy.
Playing a bunch of Borderlands.
Like, not to get too far into it already right after that, but like I think that was a terrible decision because that game really takes some time to get enjoyable, I would say.
Really? How long? Because I'm 11 hours in. Does it start?
Enjoyable in the like.
It picked up. It certainly
It starts to pick up once you get into the abilities and stuff, but
I mean, they threw you right back into Pandora. You're fighting bandits. You're fighting psychos.
Your character and that stuff.
Pretty quickly.
But yeah, from the get go, it is very, very much like old Borderlands.
I went in expecting
back in Pandora. You're riding the same cars.
I went in expecting that, and I still am kind of shocked at how much it's just more Borderlands.
I think the Borderlands 3 is fine.
Yes.
But also it would be way more acceptable if this was like 2013.
Yeah. Totally.
If Borderlands was an annual franchise and this was the sequel to Borderlands 2, you'd be like, fucking A.
Yeah.
Oh, they added like all these little quality of life things.
Yeah, you can cycle
the map
objectives with the D-pad now.
You know, it's a little bit better, but like, why? I don't know why challenges don't display at all, and I don't know why this sort of sucks and this sort of sucks.
Yeah.
But hey, at least they added this and they added this, and now I can fast travel anywhere. Like, that's smart stuff.
Now I don't have to hit a button to pick up ammo.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's 2019.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
And so this many years later, you look at it and just go like, what the
like
I understand, of course, Battleborn happened in the middle there, but you look at this and go
Aliens.
like, what happened?
But the longer they went from one game to the next, the higher they raised the expectations. It has this
weird feeling of just like no one wanted to make this game, but they felt they had to or something. Like, it's just got this weird vibe to it that is strange with that stuff. It feels like they sat down with that, dusted off the blueprint and said like, all right, turn the crank. And then here's another one. And then...
So let's back up a little bit. Same basic structure as the other Borderlands games, 4 classes right out the gate.
Yeah.
Basically... so I think the biggest change that I've noticed kind of happens once you clear the first couple of bosses and you get to... Is it a spoiler to talk about Sanctuary and the stuff after it?
Because
that was the whole pitch for the game.
And Sanctuary was like the hub in Borderlands 2.
Great, yeah.
And it was known to be a ship in Borderlands 2.
Yes. So you are traveling to different planets. And I think like right out the gate, I was playing the first couple hours. I'm like, man, are they really just like, you're on Pandora again.
Same desert.
Ruin again. But
same racks.
Which they do, but then they start to like get you to different locale, and I think in one aspect it's really interesting because they do kind of look different. You go to like a very an urban looking planet that has different cars and stuff. You go to kind of a monastery looking planet after that like has cool waterfalls and stuff. But it also becomes like weirdly linear at that point.
Yeah. So I think you're kind of not giving Borderlands 2 enough credit for the visual styles it had.
Yeah, I'm trying
especially like over the course of that game, but also over the course of its DLC. It also did all these different looks, but still in a lot of ways the DLC was a little different. But like in Borderlands 2 and in Borderlands 1 maybe even more so, it felt like one connected environment, whereas this just feels like, well, now we've got our swamp planet and we can have 3 zones here, and we've got our city planet and we can have 2 zones here, and it all feels so disjointed. Like they're not planets. You're not exploring a planet. You're going and there are 3 different like art style, 3 different zones.
Right. They're disjointed because they're different planets.
Totally. Yeah. And that's like a cool expansion, but it's not, when you hear like you go to different planets, that sounds bigger than it ends up being.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, because like we have the context in our mind of like No Man's Sky and other games. I know the scope isn't going to be as big as something like that, but in 2019, when I hear video game with multiple planets, I'm imagining landing on a planet I don't know anything about, wandering around for a little bit, kind of getting like, okay, this is like a jungle planet and it's got some jungle things, but instead it's like, no, you land and then you walk down for all intents and purposes, a hallway, fight a bunch of enemies. The hallway branches out into other hallways and big areas.
It's basically side quests in every one of those hallways.
It's basically just a different way to load you into new biomes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of driving there on the same planet, you fly there.
It's almost more like the Phantasy Star Online biome structure of just like, you went to forest, you went to that,
I mean, it's like the Star Wars thing, right? Every planet is exactly one kind of environment.
Yes.
Here's your desert planet. Here's your swamp planet.
But I guess like the thing is like, you know, this
planet.
isn't Pandora as you know it from the previous games. This is like a small section of landmass compared to what you think of as the scope and size of Borderlands. So you're not getting like that scope on every planet, on any planet really, which would be ridiculous to expect. But at the same time, I think it just kind of undermines, like when you think about, like, they trademarked the term border worlds after I think Borderlands 1.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was this feeling of just like, oh my God, can you imagine, like, and at the time the thought was like that it would be more of an MMO style thing.
Yeah.
And you start to, your wheels start to spin on that and you're like, holy shit, if they could take the size of this planet and then there's a whole nother planet, that'd be some shit. And they got there, but not at all in the way that you wanted them to. And it's just like kind of like, that's I feel like that's my ongoing story with Borderlands, is like they get there, but not in the way that they could have if there was just a little more to it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think it's a bummer. That game's a bummer. I don't
think it's quite a bummer. I feel like I probably had higher expectations going in than y'all in the like it's just more Borderlands category.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm kind of ready for that. I don't need Borderlands to update too much. Turns out I after playing it, I kind of wish they did go for something big and fail rather than do what they've done here, which just feels like kind of just
an iteration of sorts. Yeah.
It reminds playing Borderlands 3 reminds me of like going to your high school reunion, where it's like it depends what you go for. You go and you're like, oh man. We're like, you meet up with your friends, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. But did we really get along? Like, were we really friends?
Yeah, like,
did I really enjoy this in
like,
high school? But all that aside, if you just go for the open bar, if you just go to have a few drinks and like maybe see a couple people,
but like everybody there is still telling the same jokes from 20 years ago.
You know what you do? You put them on mute, and you just go to the open bar and you have an okay time. Borderlands is fun. Borderlands 3, I'm with you. Guys,
I'm with you.
The shooting is fine.
Building my character.
Yeah. Shooting is really good. Like I had this moment. They've really improved shotguns for whatever reason. That and like the SMGs, they've got like an armor set on it. Regardless,
well, you get manufacturer based. It's like not every SMG is going to have the big shield on it.
True.
Like all the
Hyperions have shields.
They've made go on. Go on.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah,
the gun manufacturer stuff.
You get a crit with a shotgun, and it'll actually pop enemies up in the air, or it'll knock them down. Like I had an instance where I like jumped off this ledge, and as I'm going down, I popped this guy twice in the fucking head. He went up in the air. As soon as I landed, I fucking meleeed him as he was coming down, killed him. Great feeling. Yeah. There's a lot of like cool synergy between
guys in the legs. They'll fall down. They'll dive out of the way of grenades.
More physics.
Like,
yeah,
that's just a little bit more reactions from the enemies and stuff, which is cool.
That shit's a lot of fun. I like some of the changes to some of the weapons. I like the alt fire stuff. I like having like an electric and a corrosive weapon, all in one. I like these new shields where you crouch down and it'll project a shield out in front of you. It gives you cover like wherever. It's
so the hassle with that though is like when I think about Borderlands, I think like every gun could be the gun. Every gun could be crazy, but instead, they've given these manufacturers very specific traits.
Yeah.
Where like the Malawan guns
they've all got
charge
personalities,
up. And what is it? Okay, so the Malawan guns charge up. Is it TDR that you throw? And that was in Borderlands 2. They did that there.
That's true, but now sometimes you'll throw them and they'll
be turrets. Yeah,
they'll be turrets, or they'll sit in place and they'll just fucking kamikaze towards an enemy.
And so
there's cool shit going on.
You get variants within there, but like they've formed the guns into such archetypes now that when you look at a gun, when you look at the stats and you know the manufacturer, you go like, oh, it's another one of these.
Yeah.
Like I already have 4 of these.
You have a basic expectation of how each gun is going to perform.
Yeah.
With some minor variations.
And that just seems so counter to like the best part of Borderlands.
The bajillions of guns.
Like the billion.
Was like, fucking pull the gun slot machine every time I get a kill and maybe something awesome will come out. Instead, it's like now they've got item scores on the items and you look at it and,
that's kind of cool.
They're deceptive. There are plenty of times where I've had lower item
something
scores
at a glance,
that are like way better.
Yeah.
That are way better like time to kill and stuff like that.
Their idea of what counts toward item score seems to
bizarre.
be inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like resists will seem to contribute to that in a bigger way than they should and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in terms of just like real world usefulness, the item scores like
of course I want the shields with the higher capacity, but here's this lower capacity one that you say is better.
Well, in that case you might have a shorter recharge delay and stuff like that. That always worked out, in the previous games too, but it's the item score is not as like when it comes to comparing guns, you want it to be a little more straightforward, and it's not. And then on top of that, the inventory system still really sucks.
It's
they haven't changed anything
and it's
meaningful
weirdly
there.
laggy.
Oh, yeah.
Navigating that thing is super hitchy.
Every time you push.
Is it like that on PC?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes not nearly as bad.
Base PS4, it's in
performance across
really
the board. So I'm playing on a PS4 Pro set to performance instead of resolution.
Same.
Note that they did not write high performance. Holy shit!
Yeah,
it like maybe 30. It's weird how
there was something
all over the place.
Watching you play it in the office, it was worse, way worse than mine.
I think
that was on a Pro.
That's on a Pro. Yeah. But I feel like different sections run differently.
Yes.
But it's never.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it and said like, man, this is really performative. This is like really running really well and looking great. Like it still looks like Borderlands running at a higher resolution. It's got HDR.
I feel like
pretty impressive.
So I'm playing on base PS4, and maybe it's just because I'm coming right off of Control, but I'm like, the frame rate is never like it's a little chuggy here and there, but really the menu switching is like it's like worse than Xbox One,
worse than like Destiny.
Yeah,
and Destiny
it gets better as it loads parts of the menu in and caches them, and then it's a little smoother to navigate around. But the first time you go through every tab,
and it's extra bad because of a point that we noticed, Brad, which was you can't cycle between quests on the map,
which is the one place you really. So it's cool. They added in the game running around when you can see your gun and everything. You can cycle with the D-pad through the quest objectives, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But you can't
they just
tell,
pop up on your mini-map
right.
and be like, okay, I need to head east.
But the mini-map isn't big enough to show you like how far away they are.
No.
Like you need to do it on the real map where you can see like, okay, I want to see how many quests are within the like 30 seconds of me so I can pop them all off, but you can't do that. I hope maybe they'll add something like that.
Yeah, maybe. It's a bizarre game.
It's like
when I think about the time it took to develop, and I think about where like loot games are today. Like forget the like games as a service, like online, offline, like all that shit. Like you could have philosophical discussions about that all day. But when I just think about like Diablo 3 and how old that game is, and how much better that game is at doing some things. I mean, that was always the comparison point. Like back before Borderlands 1 came out, like Gearbox was name dropping Diablo specifically in interviews, and this just they've missed so many different quality of life things along the way that
or not even quality of life,
or
but just sort of like things that you kind of expect from this genre right now or at this point. I mean, like equipable armor or like something to do with all these guns you're racking up besides selling them. Like some kind of
or like loot. Just a loot as junk button would fucking I hate that. That's like because that's how low the bar is. That I'm just like, man, if they put that in, that would be a game changer. And because now I have to pick it up and go like, I have to compare and sort through all this fucking shit. I know all these guns are garbage.
I really hate the way that ammo and reloading in this game works. I know it's like Borderlands, that I've always done it, but stuff like running out of ammo in a shooter is a terrible feeling, and it's something that
mid boss fight,
anywhere, like in a combat arena, whatever. Like it's something that I think shooter developers have realized is like, it should almost never happen to you. It can happen sometimes, like if you're just like cheesing out a boss and like can't be, there need to be realistic things. But like I'm thinking back through all the shooters I've played, including like battle royales and stuff in the last 5 years, and I can like count on a couple hands maybe the amounts of times where I've really run out of ammo and been like, oh shit, okay, I need to like move around. But in this game, it's happening.
It's happened to me multiple times in just the first few hours.
And so I think it's mitigated a little bit. Once you open up the weapon slots, and you're able to equip different types.
And they've so it leads to you
switching out weapons,
and having like, okay, well, I don't want to have 2 pistols equipped because that's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, I straight up at this point have like pistol, SMG, sniper rifle, and I'm still running out of ammo in certain arenas.
Yeah, it happens for sure.
And like stuff like, oh my god, you go to the ammo vending machine. When I buy ammo from the ammo vending machine, it should automatically reload my other fucking guns. I shouldn't have to manually swap through all of my. Yes.
Wow.
It doesn't automatically reload them. You have to switch to the weapon and then manually.
Oh, you mean
reload
just actually
you have to buy
refill the
ammo for each
magazine?
gun?
No, there's a buy all ammo button,
but then
it
you
doesn't
have to
refill.
swap through all of your equipment. Like there's so many little things like
I
that.
didn't notice that.
But the buy all ammo button I think it buys ammo for weapons you don't have equipped, which
Yes.
I often don't want to
everything.
buy rockets, and the rockets are
I
expensive.
always do. Like
So-
that was kind of a ritual. It's like, in previous games, is like I would just top off everything.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was money. I've got
I
so
would
much
usually
money.
play a
I
class
really
that
like
just
that.
generated ammo, so
sure.
because it
Money
had
becomes a
been
problem.
such a hassle.
It does?
Yeah.
Once you get to Sanctuary and you start buying the like big upgrades to your stuff, it's like you burn through.
They changed a lot of stuff. Like Borderlands 2, you use the Iridium currency to purchase your like inventory upgrades. And so if you wanted to hold more ammo and hold more in your backpack and that sort of stuff.
Is that the little pink icon?
Yeah, it was like the rare currency.
Is that what I'm getting for racking up these challenges that you can't track manually?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or see?
Yes. I feel like I was able to see them randomly.
I can see my friends doing them.
So, but now, like when I hold down the touchpad when a friend completes one, it doesn't pop.
It doesn't
the list
do
anymore.
anything
It's like
for-
broken now. It's, I don't know what the fuck.
Oh, wait, you mean there was a list and it's not accessible
There's
now?
a list
That would
somewhere
explain it.
that's hidden away and bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it tracks everything you do. It's like
Yeah.
it's as granular as like get burst fire kills with this manufacturer and get full auto kills with it. Like everything you do,
But that doesn't
results in some kind of
the
progress.
challenges tab in the map is just it's limited to these zone specific ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't show
So, yeah, you
the
can't-
game specific ones.
You can't
and
see
I don't know where
what,
those are.
what you're working on. You can't see what you're supposed to be doing. And also, I have no idea what those points do because they've never said. I've just got them sitting there.
Well, so the Iridium currency,
Maybe I'll
which
get there.
is it'll be shown at the bottom of your backpack next to your golden keys.
Yeah, I see it. I just don't know what to do with it. Maybe
So
I
that's
just haven't
like when you get to
gotten that far.
Sanctuary,
Okay.
you'll see what to do with it. But in Borderlands 2, that was like a rare currency that was used for your inventory upgrades, and it was like a big deal to upgrade that stuff because you're like, oh fuck, I can
Finally
carry more
have-
shit.
yeah.
Finally,
Yes.
Like there's no town portal in this game, so it's inventory management's a hassle. So now they've replaced that to where it's just the regular currency, and now you spend that other currency on cosmetics.
Cosmetics and
And
you
guns.
can
And
do
there's a vending
for guns
machine
too,
that
yeah.
just sells like way better guns.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I feel like all the drops have been like it's weird for a game that's like supposed to be, hey, we're rolling guns, you're dropping guns all the time. Like I feel like most of the stuff I've gotten from drops has been terrible. Like completing quests and even in a couple of cases buying guns out of that specific vending machine.
Yeah, once in a while I'll find a gem, you know, but for the most part, yeah, I've been buying the guns that I use.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating because it's just like my drops have just been one sniper rifle after another in a game where if you're playing solo,
I don't
you
get any of
don't
those.
want to use a sniper rifle.
I love my sniper.
That much.
I have a stealth. I have a stealth.
Okay,
skill.
yeah. So I also I feel like I picked the wrong class.
Yeah. So what is
the game
everyone
would have
playing?
the game would have really benefited from like here's a 10-minute tutorial where you look at every
Yeah.
skill tree and play
You could
every
have just
class.
gone to the Borderlands website to look at
Yeah,
it.
What do they give you, like,
Read the
a-
grimoire while I'm there.
They give you like one or two sentences of text when it's time to pick your class about what each one does.
and it's like archetype. You do like okay, pet class. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
so I'm playing the Flak, the pet class. You're
seem really
playing
fun.
I played the mech, the gunner. I guess she's called the gunner.
Okay.
I tried out the Siren just for the hell of it, having a fucking awesome
Yeah, I heard
time
the
with
Siren's
her.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
playing the
rad.
operative, the Irish dude.
Right,
with all
cool.
with all the gadgets.
So we're all playing something different there.
I feel like by the time I got into the point where I was like, man, I really hate this character. Like all these abilities on the skill tree sort of suck.
that sucks.
I was in too deep. I was like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
but also I don't want to play through any of this unskippable stuff anymore. So
I like the mech. I've got a level 10 mech on PC as well, and I love the interchangeability of all the weapons. Like I can have a flamethrower in one and a grenade launcher on the other arm.
I went with like railgun and rifle. on
Still,
it.
like
And
it's fun hopping into that mech and just like blowing the shit out of like anything in front of you. It's nice having that big pop ability.
Right,
I
it's,
guess.
you know,
like
it's
I feel
like
invincible
on a
when I'm
boss
in it.
fight and,
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff
great.
like that.
I
don't
think that's
know.
cool.
I feel like I'm not doing.
It's better than just like fucking throwing up a turret. You know what I mean? Like that's a little more interesting, a little more engaging.
Yeah. I still think I would rather play as the soldier class from
Okay.
Borderlands 1 through all of this stuff when I think about the full skill tree,
Right.
which that class was broken. It was too survivable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it was just like
totally.
you could, like, okay, now the turret regens ammo and everything else.
Just
So you
stand behind it,
throw
you'll
it
be
down,
fine.
and I'm fine. And I'm regenning everything so I can go forward for the next couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like admittedly it was broken, but I feel like in correcting it through Borderlands 2, like I didn't feel strongly about any of the classes in 2 and now 3. Like,
Yeah.
I did eventually go look at the other skill trees for the other characters. I'm
Yeah.
like, these are.
I wonder what she'd be into.
These look better than the one I'm using, but
I figured the gunner would have been the one that you really liked.
it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Flag's really cool, but between like the different the like 3 different, so there's each character class kind of has like an active ability, a passive slot, and then like other passives you can just learn through the skill tree. It seems like all the characters' active abilities are very different, like from each of the 3 skill trees. You know, you equip one of there's like blue, red, and green kind of. So like, you know, Flag's got like you can go stealth, you can summon your pet to like show up irradiated, like this big hulking version of it to like go rampage. Or I've never used the third one. I don't know what the third one is. But like they all seem like vastly different. And then the sub pet you can equip is different. Like sometimes like I have these, my main one is I throw like these rack out, which are kind of the pterodactyl looking creatures.
Oh, I know what a rack is.
For
motherfuckers.
For the listener. Like ice racks that'll come out and just like explode and freeze enemies and stuff like that. And you can even change what type of elemental damage they're doing based on how far you go down the skill tree. And that stuff is all really cool. I wish you maybe got a little faster, a little further, because I don't know how much game is in this game, but I've barely made a dent on the skill tree at like level 14.
Okay.
I have like one tier 2
so it sounds like you've also been like spreading the points across the 3 trees.
Yes.
It's like if Borderlands 2 is any indication, you need to focus on one. If you want to get that final skill, you kind of need to get there. So I've been putting all my points into pretty much one tree.
Do you stop getting points after you hit the level cap, or can you keep earning them?
I don't know.
And
I mean, there's a
respect.
respect. Yeah, you can always change it up.
Yeah, I'm not too worried on that.
They've raised the cap in previous games along with side DLC and stuff, so there's been ways to get there.
Were the class mods in 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So I really like how they're handled in this one. I found one right away that gave me like the tier above the last tier of abilities, like 2 points and some really broken skill. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. When can you equip the class mods?
You're really close. You've
Okay.
got to be.
I was going to say, I've been getting them since like level 10.
Based. I think it's
story-based.
Story-based.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
The weapon slot unlocks, I think, are story-based too. So like you complete a story mission, and it's like, now you got 4 weapons. Like, all right.
I still have some locked stuff that I don't even know what, like by the grenades down there in the corner. I don't know if it's like different types of grenades or whatever.
It's class mod, and then the 4th thing, I forget what it is. It's like it's like the little diamondy looking gem thing that I think they had in 2.
I thought that was also a class mod, but
it is something similar to that. But it's like
another passive buff thing.
I don't remember.
I think so. Yeah.
But it is some kind of like, hey, we're going to tweak the way you play this class by with some stats changes and stuff like that. But I want to say it might be like you specialize, like you're like a grenade launcher person, or there might be it's like that type of specialization slot or something. I forget. I forget what it is.
Yeah. Is it like this like subclass almost?
It might be
like because I would say like Beastmaster for me in the bottom corner that would change to whatever.
Really?
It might be. I actually don't know.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was in 2. How that stuff exactly worked, but yeah.
Operative's a weird one because you can. I assumed every class could do this when it was presented to me, but apparently not. I can trade in my grenade and just equip a second skill, which is kind of wild.
Weird.
I can just have 2 skills equipped at all times.
Huh.
Operative seems like the interesting.
Operative is kind of. I think that's actually the. Yeah. Well, it sounds like Flak is pretty cool too, but
I don't ever want to play a pet class in a game.
Yeah. But
I have this little monkey that runs around with a gun.
That's fine.
He's a monkey with a gun and he just shoots things.
So I can equip 2 skills at the same time, and then there are a bunch of passives on his tree that buff like your guns and how long the skills last based on how many you have active at a time. So they encourage you to use both skills simultaneously because like then my guns do more damage and the skills last longer. I can make like a hologram of myself that draws fire and shoots back, like has a gun.
Oh, cool.
The handsome Jack tech.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And there are skills
totally.
for like, give your hologram clone the same gun that you have equipped. Yeah. You can teleport. You can swap places with your clone. You can have a skill that refills all your ammo when you swap places.
There you go. Like actual useful skills.
Right.
Get some bullets back.
And the other skill I've got right now is just a straight up division drone. Like just pop a drone that flies around shooting everybody. So like I distract everybody and then pop a drone that also like I've got me and 2 things shooting everybody. And
that sounds way more interesting.
You just kind of like lay waste
to
a group of enemies.
With the mech that I've got, it's just like it's railgun, it's machine gun, it's a melee attack, and it's got like a bubble shield. I think I have a shield equipped that gives it like a Nova blast when I get in or out of it that doesn't do that much damage. Like ultimately, like it only feels really useful in boss fights, and it's just like, okay, well that's a third of that boss's health, and cool. Now I can run around and wait for it to refill and do another third, or something like that. But
yeah. Jeff, what's your favorite joke from Borderlands 3?
I have one. I actually do have one.
Do you?
It's the one thing in there that I was like, okay, cool. I wish that this game would have come out 4 years ago or something when this would have. But it's a dumb little telltale joke.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe you haven't gotten there yet.
Maybe not.
Okay. Well, whatever. At some point, like it asks you a dumb question, a question that is ultimately meaningless. A character asks you something about himself, and you have to give an answer. And then he just goes, "I'll remember that." And then it pops up a thing like no other quest has done it, but literally just pops up a window that says, Reese will remember this.
Okay.
I was like, all right, yeah.
What's your least favorite joke from Borderlands 3?
Everything else.
Oh, there's so many.
Pretty much.
So many.
The fake Rick and Morty. Are
you a poop guy or a boner guy?
I'm a boner.
Borderlands
because we got both.
Yeah, but only Borderlands 3 feels like a game that really doubled down on like. Not Tiny Tina in the way that she talks per se, but in the just
everything
like
she represents.
The singular focus of just like every character in that game is like really, really wants to tell you how casual they are about loving murder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, and I love to murder things. Like the end of every sentence, some character has to say like, and I kill stuff.
It's the humor equivalent of dig.com's comment sections from 2009.
It's basically like a manic pixie psychopath.
Yeah,
sure.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like
this tweed.
Yeah, and it just
homicidal maniac,
and it's just driven into the ground out of the gate. I mean, that was kind of always their thing to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But it feels like this game, that's kind of all they have left. And they're just riding it and riding it and riding it.
It's so strange because, this is one of the first games in a long time I can remember that I just straight up turned the dialogue off, the volume slider.
Wow.
The dialogue. I put closed captions on and I put the volume all the way down. I'm like, I'm just going to rewatch like Breaking Bad or something while I play this.
I mean, you still have to sit and wait for those lines to play out.
And you still have to. Cutscenes are unskippable. Yeah. You have to sit in a location while a character talks at you in a one way. Just I'm going to sit here and do my jokes at you, almost like somebody forcing you to watch a magic trick or something. You just have to sit there and listen and nod your head. But
it's like you went over to someone's house and they're just like, no, check out my band. No, it's really good.
No, you're going to watch
good.
it. Don't talk.
Yeah,
just don't talk and watch.
There's a guy in there that wants you to take his mixtape.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But with all that being said, I kind of like the main story to a degree. I think the setup of these basically influencers have found a way to get everyone brainwashed, basically. They're brainwashing people through Twitch, and I think that's we were talking about it when we were playing the first day. There's something kind of dark, but also timely.
It's weird because they feel like they don't do enough with it.
It falls short.
And so I'm back at the point where those characters have come back into the story.
Yeah, they drop out for a while.
They drop out for 10 hours of the game, and then they're back, and you're like, oh, all right, I've been fighting this other person that seemed like a bad final boss, kind of, bad corporate guy. And I guess now that fight's done, we're getting back to this thing. Oh, right, this thing.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it's that. Yeah, it's just paced.
I thought uniting all the bandit clans through a cult of personality was a cool framework. But then when I actually saw the villains for the first time and realized oh, they're literal influencers, feels way too on the nose to me.
Well, also it feels really. There's something really cynical about it. It feels like the people writing those characters really fucking hate influencers, which, hey, I can get it.
That's fair.
But in a
I think it's less
way,
of them hating influencers and more hating the
fans.
How fanatic people can get about the influencers, which I think is again a valid conversation to have, especially when
you think about you think about the way people love Borderlands is actually really strange.
But then there's also stuff I really like Flack's dialogue. Flack is the coolest character in my game. They're this kind of. they speak in a way that's very much like knowing and above everything, and in a way that contrasts really well with the like memey kind of like, and it's not like smugness, it's more of like, I've traveled to 1 million planets and this is just another thing on my adventures, and I'm this like kind of wise thing. I like that there's a lot of really interesting, strong female characters. Like, you know, they set up not Lilith, no, what's her name from the older games? She's like the person who runs.
Yeah, that is
Lilith is
It's like Lilith has a really interesting role, and she's kind of put up against this main female antagonist, and I think that there's like, it's weird. I feel like there's like 1 or 2 writers there who are really trying to like do something current and interesting with it.
Like the overall story beats. Yes, there's something to it. It's the dialogue that like really drags.
Where somebody
the whole thing
took a
down.
pass on it, and we're like, what if you made a dubstep reference here instead?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I said when I hit that the cult leader. I don't need like and subscribe jokes undermine what you should be trying to do with a cult leader here. Like I don't like that's just played.
Or well, that's the thing. Like the like and subscribe joke is it is 2 years too late to do that in a game,
and too obvious. Like if you're going to do it,
then
like
you
do it
literally
with
get to a
some
point where
creativity.
like, and the joke is someone's like being like, oh, all dubstep songs sound the same is the dubstep joke, and you're just like, that's like the coldest take you could have on a thing. Like, what are we even fucking doing?
Right.
That stuff's just bizarre. So like my character, like again, like I fucking picked the wrong character across the board.
Gunner's dialogue is awful.
Like she just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So like there's all these icons or these little things around the world that are written in some alien language that you can't read. And at some point you'll probably learn the language and be able to read them, I assume.
That might be giving it too much credit.
But every time you go up to one and hit the button, like no one in the game has cared about these things. There's one-off thing where a siren looks and goes like, oh, the aliens have been here, blah, blah, blah. But when you go up and hit the button on it, she just goes, blah, 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 alien garbage, who cares, whatever. And then like, okay, like you can't even be bothered to make the character give a shit about anything in the universe. Why should I?
Right.
Like they don't give players a reason to care about any of the dialogue. Like there's a great reason that you turned it the fuck down. Like so much of it is so fucking bad, but like in a totally different way than Borderlands 2 was.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, Borderlands 2 like went down that meme hole in some weird ways. This stuff is way more around the edges. When they do insert that stuff, it's like in a gun description or a gun ability or something like that, where you're just like, okay,
it's that, but then there's also like
your internet up in there, I guess.
1 million poop jokes.
Yeah,
like butts, poops, farts, boners. Like it makes Drawn to Death look funny.
Right. Let's not say things we can't take back.
But it is along the same lines of a Drawn to Death.
You're right. This is like a notch above Drawn to Death in that. Yeah, I've been watching a little Beavis and Butthead lately. Like that has more to say than this ever could. Like I kept trying to think of a way to like wrap it up in a like a succinct way, in a way that will work both for people who like the game and people who don't. And so far, all I've got is Borderlands is the Family Guy of video games.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, sure.
And but like Family Guy, at least when it drops a reference, then goes like way too long to fucking drill the reference down. Whereas this is just like throwing shit out there and moving on in a way that's like, okay, like you just said a thing that's not a joke. That doesn't count as a joke.
The guys who guard the shotgun, the Rick and Morty shotguns, names are like Brick and Brody.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the whole. That's the whole.
That's it.
Joke.
That's the bit.
That's the whole bit.
Oh, I get it.
And whatever. It's a reference. It doesn't have to be a joke. We're past post joke.
Does the quest design ever evolve?
Not really.
Over the course of the game, I'm still on the first planet.
Hand a guy, put something in this green glowing slot.
The number of times they go back to that of like the quest, like the quest handler person literally holding their arm out with a glowing empty object in it. Like I think they did that in 2, but like it felt sparing in that. Where this is just every single thing is a fetch quest for someone, so you always get back to Tannis, and she's just like, "Give me the thing."
I mean, to be fair, the objectives and mechanics in quest design in this genre, like across the board, are pretty bland,
right,
and unimaginative. It's just that there's nothing around the edges of this,
right,
to prop me up when you know what I mean. Like at least,
and then
at least in Destiny, I enjoy the
things.
setting. Like in the Division, like the combat is kind of dynamic and interesting. Like none of that is here to help out with kill quests and like,
and it still feels
quests.
like loosely cobbled together on the so like you'll have quests where it's like you need to go here and do a thing, but in the zone I'm in right now, the kind of swamp area, Like it is easy to fall off track and then have to go way around to get back to where you're going. So they put the diamond in random spots on the path. Instead of just highlighting the area where you're going and saying, get there, they go drive here, then drive here, then drive here, then drive here. Like, put a fucking arrow, like, let me map a waypoint and then put a thing on the ground. Like video games do.
I'm glad you said waypoint because it's unbearable that you have one custom. There's another quality of life thing. You can plop one custom waypoint on a mini map, and that's it. Like, modern shooters, you should be able to, like, have multiple, like Breath of the Wild kind of, I feel like, changed the game on, like, what you should be able to do with, like marking up a minimap, because there's so many instances of like, okay, I have 3 active quests and they're all in this general area. I want to be able to mark out, like, while I'm here, I need to remember to get this thing.
You could annotate like a dozen or 24 distinctive different things in that game.
I'm getting around that by just fast traveling as often as possible. And it's just like you finish a thing, then you're like, okay, what's the fast travel point that gets me closest to the next thing?
So bad on
and the next
PS4.
thing, and the next thing, and yeah, they're not great. And so,
I like the was it like this in 2 where you could hijack cars and then bring them back to your garage and then use them?
I don't think
I think that's kind of cool.
Are they different?
Yes. Yeah. So once you start getting to other worlds, you start seeing more radically different cars, like the cool like circle ones in the city.
Big wheel.
Was that how you get different parts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that one in particular is a story beat.
Yeah,
they give you.
Yeah, that first one, the wheel is like a story that shows you the system, I think.
No, the one that's just a wheel with 2 guns sticking out. You get on the first one you get is just a normal car with like a gun on top.
I know, but the mono wheel thing.
When they introduce you to the parts mechanics,
just
like deliberately, I feel like is
I just hijacked one and brought it back without it being a quest.
Oh, really?
Thing.
Okay.
All right.
So it just got rid of that quest beat, I guess, for you.
Weird.
So. No, cool. Actually,
yeah.
I don't think it's a terrible game by any stretch. It's for the most part, it's competently made. It's like pretty fun to play.
It just feels
it's just
crazy old.
Like I can't remember who it was that described the problem with this game as just being a lack of ambition. Like it just feels like they did that again.
Yeah,
and ignored like all the ground that's been covered and all the progress that's been made in this genre, which is like, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's up there with the most popular genres on the planet at this point. Like,
right. In part because of the success of Borderlands.
I mean, this game, probably Hellgate London deserves the actual credit.
Sure.
But like this game is the game that really made it like break wide, right? Like this game was like Borderlands 1 was huge.
Absolutely.
And
so many a great game. Like the only faults with Borderlands 1 are like the boss fights were broken.
And there weren't that many of them, and they were just bad.
Yeah,
like,
it was just like, I
terrible.
can stand here and hold down the fire button and win the final confrontation, the Rack Hive, all that other stuff. It's just, like those were bad boss fights.
Think about like the caliber of developers that have now also taken a stab at this specific genre, the first-person shooter with loot,
right?
And all the things they've done, and like this game could have looked at some of that stuff and like taken the good and like come up with new ideas of its own.
Yeah,
but it really just feels like a refinement of exactly the thing they did 2 or arguably 3 times already.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at the pre-sequel.
I try not to.
I just like I don't mind playing it. It's kind of mildly entertaining.
It's just
I just wish they had done so much more.
Yeah, I think my issue is that it's a little too monotonous, even for a genre that is like that's the thing. You're going to grind out these guns and you're going to grind out your levels and that sort of stuff. Like you're there for that grind, and I think other games have just done that better now, and I think that the fringe around Borderlands 3 has only gotten, or around the franchise has only gotten worse. The story, the writing, like the stuff that would make it stand out from other games of its type, it's just not there.
Yeah,
It's not to say it's not fun. Like, get 4 people together and fucking ignore all the shit and just go.
Yeah,
in there and
I was
shoot
thinking.
the shit out of stuff.
I almost jumped in.
You have they've done a better job. I haven't tried it a lot, but they've apparently done a better job at like getting players of different levels to play together.
Yeah, they've got the 2 modes now.
Yeah,
the kind of the friendly mode, like it instances everybody's loot, so you can't steal from each other, and any mix of levels can get together and they just balance all the enemies for everybody.
And they were worse at doing that before, so they've gotten better at that, and that's cool.
So I almost jumped into a game with a couple friends on Friday night, and then like I stopped and I was like, I'm still going to be doing exactly this same kind of repetitive loop, just with people I can talk to. Like, is that actually worth it?
I mean,
no. What the point being, like I could talk to friends doing a more entertaining thing at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the underlying game is not going to change. Right. There are just going to be more people there doing it with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, friends make a lot of games better.
That's what I mean.
Also,
that's what I mean.
What if you played a better game with friends?
Like it doesn't seem like a game. Well, I mean, I guess you're right. Like that's a game. That's a game that really feels different and like super meaningful with multiple people. And like that stream we did on Friday was cool as hell. Like that game is a really good co-op game.
Yeah.
I get whatever. You'll get the mix of classes in Borderlands. Like, there would be some synergy having multiple players there, but that multiple, there's no real exploration in this game that I've seen. Like Remnant's got that going for it, just as a counterexample.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
This is really just sort of push forward and hope for better guns.
There's really no way or no reason to explore the environment really after a certain
They highlight quests. If there's a side quest or quest giver somewhere, they let you know where it is, so you can go right there.
But I get what you mean, because I was going off to the side just trying to fill out little nooks and crannies.
I want to take this in and
there's
see if there's hidden.
There's no story. There's no
I've found stuff off the beaten path.
Well, I have too, but I mountain climbed up. I was like, oh, that is a really narrow mountain path, but it looks like they maybe intended for people to walk that. So I kind of followed it around and did a little light platforming and got up, and sure enough, there were 3 chests up there, and I opened them and they had ammo in them.
Yeah,
and it's like, why is this here if I'm just gonna get ammo out of this? At the end of it, put a skeleton and a diary entry so I can feel like I found something.
But then I do not read the diary entry.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff like that just feels like a misfire. There's a tighter version of this game where they hit more of those marks that I think that would really sing if they got that stuff right.
And I hate to keep harping on armor, but it's just like a whole different path of character customization that so many other, every other game.
I felt that about Borderlands 2. I think I wrote some article for the site that was just here's things I think they should do in Borderlands 2, and
I think it would have been funny if they had just given you a shoulder pad slot and nothing else. Because that is the joke about this genre, right? It's getting bigger.
I want to beat the raid and get the big pauldrons.
Right.
And
give me a pauldron slot.
To be fair, there's a lot of customization when it comes to your character. There's a lot of stuff you can unlock, a lot of different outfits, heads, coats, color.
The heads all seem like jokes, though, from what I've seen.
No,
they're all novelty heads.
Some cool stuff.
You can when you start buying them from the shop, they get a lot cooler. But
but a lot of those are also here's a horse head.
Well, I mean, some of them are jokes, but then I have some cool ass cyber heads because I'm a robot.
The lady's got a Russian hat. I bought that. You could buy color schemes too.
Yeah,
they put a fucking Randy Pitchford USB joke in the game.
That's true.
You're not allowed to fucking do that. Unless you're also making a joke about how he's allegedly stealing millions of dollars from his employees.
Let me present a different scenario here.
Yeah.
What if that joke was a subversive act?
It wasn't
by a disgruntled employee.
From how intricate that situation sounds, I feel like every joke was individually run.
Are you talking
by
about the screenshot going around that just has the picture of the weapon that says something about a magic trick?
Yeah,
that nothing about that explicitly. I mean, dude is a legit magician. He has been for years.
Yeah, that did seem like a stretch.
That just seems like a reference to this guy's a magician.
Sure, but that carries this connotation to it of people who know the fucking deal.
But you're asking for a level of awareness. I'm
asking for any level of awareness. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know that you're going to get that.
I don't think I am going to get that.
I don't think the person or people who wrote that meant it that way at all.
I just want Randy Pitchford to stop giving out shift keys because I don't want to fucking follow him on Twitter.
This very much brought back memories from when did Borderlands 2 come out?
2012.
God.
He was just throwing that shit out like candy. He was just a fucking
I remember following Randy Pitchford in 2012 and punching in a bunch of shift keys off of his feed.
Totally,
and I did the exact same thing yesterday.
Yep.
Or Sunday, and
for the one shift code that he's put out.
And it was stuff like
key stuff is frustrating in a weird way because it's one more way for you to get good shit in a game that doesn't drop enough good shit.
Also, now there is a second layer of a loyalty program to this game because you can now also sign up as a Borderlands VIP and earn even better stuff.
The Twitch integration stuff seems kind of cool.
That seems interesting and super elaborate, but also a little frightening.
Oh, because you've got to you give a lot of permissions too.
When you tie your Twitch account to your Shift account, it asks for what seems like the whole kit and caboodle of authorizations.
Just here's my account. Yeah.
Scary.
But
there's some weird meta layer on People that are running, what is it called in Twitch terms, an extension?
Yeah.
People that are running the Borderlands extension, like you make a character on their channel and you can equip guns on it. And
There've been other silly little Twitch extensions that have been like meta RPG type stuff.
I was kind of surprised.
I wonder if it's kind of built on those types of ideas. But I hear that thing is interesting by Twitch extension standards.
Yeah. It looked like it.
Yeah. That's I think that stuff kind of undermines, like, it's a loot game, but I feel like all the loot that has dropped in my time with the game has been shitty. I think it's only been quest rewards and opening that chest with a golden key once and spending iridium at the vending machine. Those are the only like truly good items I've gotten. And even those,
I've found random like sub bosses that have good drops and stuff like that. Stuff is out there.
Yeah,
it
totally
is.
I'm
like,
sure some of that is just like, hey, a bunch of bad drops, and you know that's how these games work. But it's definitely been like it paints a really rough picture of just like, hey, follow me on Twitter and I'll give you fucking the good guns. And you're like, fuck that. Like, what?
Is it uncommon to see a purple gun in the vending machine?
No.
Or is it pretty?
That's pretty.
Like I bought literally the first vending machine you get to. I bought a purple gun out of it at the beginning of the game that I just replaced at level 9. Like I didn't find anything better for that long.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a much better game here. I think
that's what's
they got
frustrating about it.
And I felt a lot of this. I felt this same frustration with Borderlands 2 in a lot of ways, and this is just like exponential from that. Yeah. But this is also the point where I'm just like, well, I guess they're just not going to get there. Like this is clearly the game they want to be making, and it's not the game it could be so much more.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily make it some big online thing. I think that's a whole different opportunity.
Yeah,
or whatever.
like people,
but just I think if they just buttoned up what they had and kept it as a 4-player, online offline game,
right.
There's still such a better game there than they got.
Like people really seem to misunderstand us when this game got announced, and we were saying like, hey, there are all these other games you could be learning from. Like we weren't saying this game should be Destiny or The Division. It's just that there are a lot of ideas out there.
I think that
it can still be its own thing.
Could have gone in that direction,
but it can still be this like 4-player kind of co-op only, like not persistent online
a 3-player
thing.
game at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be a game with daily quests and bounties and like live service shit to still take some of the good new ideas from those other games.
But instead, like their equivalent of a live service is codes on Twitter and shit like that, where they're just like, hey, they've still created something for you to lust after and
like,
shoot for.
You just don't do it in the game
on the daily, but they didn't put it in the game. Yes, it doesn't need to be a big service game, but also like selling it as like a season pass. Here's 4 chunks of DLC, all this other stuff only just adds to the part where like that game just feels old. I don't know. Like I'll probably keep plugging away at it, but I think my time of thinking like, man, one of these days Borderlands is going to live up to that potential that it showed in Borderlands 1. Like, no, it's not. This is what it is. It's going to be this, and that's that.
I don't know. From my perspective, I really enjoy the quality of life. I couldn't see myself going back to a previous Borderlands, like, picking up ammo, mantling, stuff like that.
Mantling actually is a big deal.
It really is.
It's cool.
Because it lets them add platforming puzzles and other stuff to the game that changes things up a bit. Yeah.
Regardless, I've really enjoyed the quality of life stuff. The jokes are what they are, and I'm not, I'm really nonplussed by them, but it hasn't been egregious enough to make me turn off the audio as of yet. We'll see if I get there.
I don't think that all the jokes are so egregious that I turn off the audio. I just think it's boring and uninteresting, and they're not saying anything important ever.
It would be more infuriating to me to watch the subtitles go by as opposed to having just.
That's why you watch Breaking Bad. I
can't.
Now you're talking.
I can't do that
on your laptop.
Yeah, I get you. I can't do
Walt
that.
Jr. is up to some shit right now. It's
really?
Crazy, yeah.
Oh
my god.
Do we have a new shift code?
Oh my god! Is it from Randy?
Breaking news.
I believe. Well, this is retweeted from a couple hours ago.
Okay.
I've hooked up with Paul for a time-limited shift code for a golden key to give out during the show. Let's see if he does.
To give out during the show?
I don't know who.
I'm sure they're listening right now.
Creative director Paul Sage.
Okay.
Oh. They are doing a stream later. This is Randy saying that he gave them a golden key code that they may put out there.
He graced them with a golden key code. Thank you, Randy.
Anyways.
Do you think that he just has like a computer in his office separate from everything else? Like there's an air gap. It's not online. It generates the shift
gave
keys.
him the key generator.
And it's
Does
gold
it play
plated.
keygen music?
It's gold plated.
So you're enjoying it?
Yeah, I am actually for the most part. Not nearly as much as I could. You guys, hit it. It could be a much better game.
It's not a bad game.
It would service them to take a look at some of the more modern examples for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the
I'm there.
And that's stuff that gets exacerbated by just like how long it's been since Gearbox put out a Borderlands game. You just look at it and just go like, this is like what you've been.
What have you been doing?
Yeah,
with
like
all
it's totally accurate. If this game had come out a year or two after 2, people would be like, "Shit, this is better."
You'd be
Borderlands.
like, fucking awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
But it's just been so long.
I think it's really good looking, especially some of the HDR stuff in 4K. Performance stuff sucks.
Yeah.
Just kind of across the board. Like, even with the PC, I've gotten deleted characters. I
heard there were PC issues with Lost Progress.
Yeah, Lost Progress. I had a fucking character that lost all their guns all of a sudden, and I had one gun in my inventory.
Did they come back?
No, they never came back. So I just went back to town and bought some new ones, but still, it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's maybe,
so that's just on the PC side.
Digital Foundry put out their performance breakdown on the consoles, and like none of the consoles run well. Like, even the X is less than optimal.
That's
it's
a bummer.
It's just kind of a rough launch.
Yeah.
They'll
and that's enough for me to just go,
probably
what the fuck, you guys?
Yeah, because it's like it's an okay looking game.
Yeah,
it doesn't look that different.
I really like the art style of it. It's not that different. It's that's their niche, and the
remasters that came out ran fine, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
as far as I remember, I didn't play too much of them, but
Borderlands.
Yeah.